What happens when a single decision shakes the global system so dramatically that it forces every major power to rethink its strategy? Let's talk about the decision that did exactly that. In early 2025, Indonesia, the powerhouse of Southeast Asia, made a move unlike anything in its history. It walked into a meeting and officially became the 10th full member of the BRICS bloc. If the word bloc made your eyes glaze over, stay with me. This isn't just another membership headline. This is one of the biggest geopolitical turning points of the year. Because this wasn't routine. This was intentional. This was massive. This was earth-shattering. For more than a decade, the United States had a very specific strategy for Asia. And Indonesia was the cornerstone of that strategy. But in a single moment, Indonesia didn't just walk away from that American plan. It flipped the entire chessboard, joining the economic club led by America's biggest strategic rival, China. This is the moment everything changed. This is the moment the old playbook, where the US set the agenda and others followed, stopped working. And the panic quietly rising in Washington isn't about a meeting. It's about a terrifying realization. A core pillar of US foreign policy in Asia just cracked. So what exactly was this grand strategy that collapsed? For years, the US called it friendshoring. The idea was bold. Washington looked at its dangerous dependence on China for everything: smartphones, car parts, electronics, and said, never again. But instead of bringing factories back home, the plan was to shift production to friendly, rising economies like Indonesia and Vietnam. The US would invest money, upgrade infrastructure, offer trade advantages, and in return, these countries would stay tied to the dollar and the Western financial system. The goal? Build a new global supply chain that bypassed China entirely. America spent years and billions pushing this vision. They pressured leaders in Jakarta to stay aligned. They were confident. They believed economic necessity would keep Indonesia close. But they made one fatal assumption. They assumed these countries wanted a new boss to replace the old one. Indonesia had a very different plan. So why did Indonesia do it? Why reject the US path when Washington was offering investment in technology? Because this wasn't about choosing sides. It was about choosing sovereignty, influence, and a longer game. The US offer came with conditions: being tied permanently to Western banks and the volatile US dollar, and being used as a key player in America's strategy to contain China. BRICS offered something entirely different: a partnership among equals, a chance for Indonesia, the world's fourth largest population, to be a rule maker, not a rule taker. They accepted US investment to build infrastructure, yes. But when it came to shaping their financial future, Indonesia chose the path with maximum independence. Cold, calculated, strategic. And that's when symbolism turned into economic reality. Because joining BRICS was step one. What Indonesia did immediately afterward shocked the world. Right after the BRICS meeting, the governor of Indonesia's central bank made a stunning announcement. Indonesia and China had officially launched a local currency trading system. This is not theory. This is not a proposal. This is a live financial pipeline. Indonesian companies buying Chinese goods and Chinese companies buying Indonesian palm oil can now settle transactions directly in Chinese yuan and Indonesian rupiah. No US dollars involved. This isn't small. This system is already moving over $1 billion in trade every month, and demand is exploding faster than they can build the infrastructure for it. This is hard proof that the shift is real, operational, and accelerating. A major trade route has quietly removed the US dollar from the equation. So how does this actually work in practice? Imagine a factory in Jakarta buying machinery from Shanghai. For decades, both sides priced everything in US dollars. Payments traveled through the global dollar-based banking system with expensive conversions and constant currency risks. Now, the factory simply pays directly in yuan or rupiah. One payment, lower fees, no dollar volatility, no middleman. This is the quiet revolution. Not speeches, not symbolism, but real businesses saving real money. Multiply that by thousands of companies, and you begin to understand why this new pipeline is so powerful. But what scared Washington most wasn't Indonesia's move. It was the ripple effect. Because in geopolitics, confidence is everything, and Indonesia's decision shattered confidence in America's Asia strategy. If the biggest economy in Southeast Asia, the cornerstone of friendshoring, broke away, what would the others do? The dominoes fell fast. Vietnam, the other key piece of America's plan to replace Chinese manufacturing, accepted an invitation to become a BRICS partner. Then Thailand followed, then Malaysia joined. In just months, the United States didn't lose one partner. It lost the foundation of its entire Asian supply chain plan. This wasn't one isolated move. This was a regional shift, a collective signal that the future of their growth lay increasingly with BRICS. America's attempt to build a wall around China didn't just fail. It backfired, pushing China's neighbors into deeper partnership with Beijing. Inside Washington, panic doesn't mean shouting. It means emergency meetings. It means rewriting strategies that no longer fit the world. It means confronting a brutal truth. A 20-year assumption of U.S. foreign policy has been shattered. The assumption was this: if you give a country access to American markets, American dollars, and American technology, they will align with American political goals. Indonesia took the deals and then made a sovereign choice for a more independent future. In doing so, it exposed the fragility of friendshoring. The U.S. invested billions in building a supply chain around China. They believed it was the only logical path forward. Now, the very countries they relied on are saying, "Thanks for the help, but we have another option." And here's the twist that makes this moment historic. Southeast Asia isn't choosing a new master, they're choosing multi-alignment. Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, they're not pledging loyalty to China. They're taking investments from the US, trade deals from China, technology from Japan, and partnerships from Europe. They're not joining one side, they're playing every side. Their goal is maximum sovereignty. By keeping every major power invested in their success, they make themselves indispensable and gain enormous bargaining power. They force Washington, Beijing, and Europe to compete to offer better deals, not threats. This isn't rebellion, it's strategic brilliance. So what is BRICS becoming? Not an anti-America club, not a symbolic alliance, but the premier platform for rising global giants. BRICS is building its own development bank, its own financial systems, its own political voice, its own table, where members like Indonesia sit not as followers, but as architects. This is about influence. This is about respect. This is about shaping the rules, not following them. And now the biggest question: what does all this mean for the world we live in? It means we have crossed a line, the post-Cold War era. The era of one superpower setting the terms is over. We're entering a fragmented world, messier, unpredictable, multipolar. For businesses, this means navigating two competing systems: the US dollar system and a rising BRICS-linked network of local currency deals. For countries, it means adopting multi-alignment as the new playbook. For ordinary people, it means the forces shaping prices, jobs, money, and stability now come from multiple centers of power, not one. The old map is obsolete. The new world is forming right in front of us. Indonesia's decision, and the billion-dollar currency system it triggered, is not the end of a story. It is the loudest signal yet that the next decade will be defined by fracture, competition, and new lines of global power. The only question left is this: who makes the next move, and where will the new boundaries be drawn? With that said, thanks for watching. If this analysis helped, follow and subscribe for balanced updates. Until next time.